Good morning. Good afternoon. Hello,
Good
good afternoon.
afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
So we'll start another system today. Okay. And we'll be starting with the gastrointestinal tract. And I think that is, with regards to cardiovascular system, that is more than sufficient for you. Okay. I don't think they'll ask beyond the topics that I've already discussed with you. That's very, very important topics, control of cardiovascular system. And then control of cardiovascular system would help you to, describe the control of heart rate, the control of blood pressure. And then we had discussed, control of blood pressure separately as well. Okay. Anyway, I think with regards to CVS, I think that is done. And today I would start with gastrointestinal tract. And today, what we are going to learn is we're going to see the functional anatomy of the GIT before we embark upon this, further discussion on the gastrointestinal tract. But today, besides the anatomy, most importantly, the cross-sectional, anatomy of the gut, okay, the gastrointestinal tract. But besides the anatomy, you would be also learning about the control system, okay. So what controls the gastrointestinal tract, okay? But I would be discussing only one portion of the control system, and probably the next control system I'll discuss in another class. So anyway, let us look at the functional anatomy of the gastrointestinal tract. So what is this? What is this tract? It is a muscular tube. It's nothing but a tube. You see, starting from the mouth, ending in the anus. All right. So it's a tubular structure, something like a tube. All right, a tube that is differentiated by size, and you will find that the sizes would differ from one portion of the tube to the next portion of the tube, isn't it? Isn't it? The diameter, the radius, isn't it? The and even the histology of the gastrointestinal tract wall, okay, would be slightly different from one as we progress from the mouth to the anus. Okay. So anyway, when you look at the GIT, what we call the gastrointestinal tract system, you will find that this system is basically, collaboration of a number of organs. So some of the major organs are there, and necessary organs that all together form this system, what we call as the gastrointestinal tract system. Okay, the major organs are the tubular structure itself, differentiating into different parts, and all those different parts have different properties, different actions, and different physiological actions. Okay, and so we have the major organs: mouth itself, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and you have other accessory organs like tongue, teeth, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, the exocrine pancreas. We can take that into consideration. And when we look at the overall function of the GIT, you'll find that GIT is basically meant for digestion and absorption of food. So anyway, for digestion to happen, the gastrointestinal tract has to do some kind of enzyme secretion. So secretion of enzyme is also one function, because digestion is actually complex process involving mechanical as well as chemical processes. So the teeth in the tongue, as the teeth in the mouth, all right, breaks the food uh, into pieces, all right, and softened it, and this way it can be gulped down, forming a bolus of food in the mouth, and then it can be swallowed. And that I mean, mouth does not digest the food by sheer mechanical process. That is by biting, grinding with using the teeth. But then it involves a chemical process as well. You have enzymes that are being secreted by the along with the saliva, all right. And even these enzymes, they take part in the digestion of food in the mouth itself. Okay, and then of course digestion takes place in the stomach, takes place in the intestine, where it finally, is softened and broken into very simple forms, and then absorbed from the intestine, the small intestine. Okay, and of course that is not all, but you'll find that some amount of the food is unabsorbed and this will be excreted as waste. So you'll find that excretion is also a function of the gastrointestinal tract. And so waste elimination is another function. And one more is that, there are many functions, but these are major functions. But one more is that, the gastrointestinal tract plays a role in controlling itself, all right? So it has its own nervous control system and it controls the movement of the stomach, the secretion of the stomach. And it has glands that secrete not only enzyme but hormones as well. So you have cells secreting hormones. And another thing is that, it has an immune mechanism as well. It is not only some of the bacteria that are present, the microbes that are present in the gut that plays an important role in the enhancement of the immune system, but then you have some cells in the stomach that, they call as the microfolds. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the intestinal microfolds or the M cells that takes part in the immune processes. But then you have the Peyer's patch also that plays an important role in immunity. Something called the GALT, okay, gut-associated lymphatic system. Okay, on the so on the whole, the gastrointestinal tract plays a role in various functions. Okay, but then all those functions are related to the ensuring the integrity of the GIT system so that it can proceed with the process of digestion, the process of absorption. Okay, there are many things that we still, we know, but still we don't really know into detail. Especially the role of the gut in controlling immunometabolic processes. Okay, so you may think that we know everything about the gastrointestinal tract, but then there are various areas that needs to be investigated. So anyway, GIT system plays, it has a number of functions. Okay, and we look. This is a panoramic view of the gastrointestinal tract, all right, starting from the mouth, ending in the anus, and consisting of different organs. Okay, so now what is important for us is to look at the gastrointestinal tract wall and its histology. All right, this is a very important thing to know. And when you take a cross section, we say, cross section of the gastrointestinal tract, you would find that on the whole, the histological structure is almost uniform. But of course, there are some, differences here and there. It would, be different in different parts of the gastrointestinal tract. I mean, slight difference would be there for carrying out specific functions. Okay, so anyway, but when you take a cross-sectional view of the wall of the gastrointestinal tract, all right, the tubular structure, then what you see is that it is made up of multiple layers, but then the layers are divided into 4 parts. All right, the innermost layer is called the mucosa, which is then followed by submucosa. Then as you go outwardly, you have the muscular layer, and the outermost layer is the serosa. Okay, so when you look at the mucosa, you will find that it is again made up of 3 layers. All right, you have the innermost layer, which is formed by epithelial cells. Now, again, when you look at the epithelial cells, starting from the mouth to the esophagus to the pharynx and esophagus, you'll find that the epithelial cells there is stratified. Then from the lower esophagus downward, the epithelial cell is said to be from mouth to pharynx, it will be stratified squamous epithelial cells. All right, but then from the esophagus to downward, it is said to be columnar epithelial cells. Okay. So anyway, the epithelial cells are very important, interface that helps in the process of, absorption, digestion, and absorption. And these cells, they form these folds, what we call the intestinal villi, and the intestinal villi, you have over the, villi, you have the micro villi, okay, or the brush, resulting in the formation of a brush border, especially in the small intestine. When I talk of brush borders, villi, we are actually talking of the small intestine. But then in the stomach, it will be different again. The mucus layer would be, besides the epithelial cells, over the epithelial cells you would have a kind of a gel-like structure. I mean a gel-like mucus, right, consisting of soluble mucus and insoluble mucus. The soluble mucus is the innermost part. Then you have the insoluble mucus very close to the epithelial cells, lying very close to epithelial cells. Okay, so forming a kind of a mucosal barrier. Okay. Anyway, when we look at the other layer of the mucosa, you'll find that there is something called as a lamina propria, and this is kind of a reticular, consisting of a reticular network, number of cells, fibroblasts, and then also, it has some blood cells like the phagocytes, especially the macrophages and the other cells like eosinophil, neutrophils. Okay, and then you have next to the lamina propria, you have a layer of muscle, smooth muscle, very thin layer of smooth muscle, which is called the muscularis mucosa. So you can see it here. This layer is called the muscularis mucosa. It's a smooth muscle, a very thin layer of smooth muscle. Okay, coming back to the lamina propria, here you'd even get lymphatics, blood vessels, and glands secreting enzymes, and so on and so forth. So it is a very important layer. Now the next major layer is the submucosa. Okay, again containing it is here that you find the lymphatics, the blood vessels, and the glands. Okay, it is in the submucosa. All right, and you have some connective tissue forming this submucosal layer, and then between the submucosa and the muscular layer, I can see here the brown structure. All right, you have which is called as a circular smooth muscle layer. Okay. Between these two, you have a kind of neural network, which is called as the submucosal plexus, or sometimes it's called as Meissner's plexus. Okay, so it's a kind of neuronal network. Okay, it's part of what we call as enteric nervous system. I mean, nervous system of the gut, which I had spoken of earlier. Now, the muscular area consists of two types of muscle. This is circular muscle, as I've already said to you. As I've already stated when I was talking about the layer in between the neuronal plexus layer, in between the muscular layer and the submucosal layer. Okay, so we have these two types of muscles. These are smooth muscles. One is circular and the other is longitudinal. These are longitudinal. See the way they are arranged. Okay, so these are fibers that are arranged longitudinally. Okay, these are fibers that are arranged circularly. Okay, so in between the longitudinal muscle and the circular muscle, you have again another neuronal network, which we call as a Meyenteric plexus. Okay, or sometimes it's called as an Eyebach's plexus. Okay, so outside this muscular layer, you have a serosal layer, which is basically made up of it's part of the peritoneum, and it's made up of the connective tissue along with some epithelial cells that are called as areolar or sometimes called mesoepithelial cells. Okay, so this is actually continuation of the peritoneum, which they say invests the entire gastrointestinal tracts, form a kind of a covering, that protects or form a kind of a border, a covering rather of the gastrointestinal tract. So these are all the different layers, and when you look at the muscular layer here, because we're taking this from a small intestine, this is a cross-sectional, uh, part of the small intestine. But if you take a cross-sectional, part of the stomach, all right, you would find that the muscular layer, in fact, has three layers. It has a longitudinal muscle, smooth muscle, the circular smooth muscle, and the internal oblique, all right, muscle. Now the stomach, it plays a number of roles besides digestion. Of course, it doesn't play a role in absorption because it doesn't have this type of structure, the villi, intestinal villi. But it plays an important role in digestion, okay, and in protection. All right, because HCl plays an important role in protection. That's the innate immunity of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so you'll find that it plays an important role in digestion and propulsion. Okay, and storage as well. Storage. So a number of movements that are occurring here are a little bit complex. So that's why you have the another type of arrangement of smooth muscle, right, which is arrangement in oblique direction. So you have these are nothing; these are all same muscles, but it's just the arrangement that makes them different. So this is arranged longitudinally, this is arranged circularly, then the oblique muscles are arranged obliquely. And when they contract, they produce a kind of, a change in the, stomach conformation, okay, uh, as per the requirement, okay. So that is why we have, different arrangements of the smooth muscles in the stomach. All right, more complex arrangement in the stomach. Okay. Elsewhere, it will be only, in the gut, it will be this type of arrangement where you have circular and the longitudinal. When you look at the longitudinal, layer, longitudinal muscle layer in the intestine, you'd find that they are arranged in a different, manner. They are arranged as bands, and these bands are called as tinea coli. Okay, and again, for the arrangement is made for a specific purpose. Okay, so whatever arrangement is done for a purpose and which is fit for that particular organ. Okay, and otherwise, on the whole, if you look at the gastrointestinal tract, this is a uniform, structure. It has all these layers. Okay, so this is another view of the gastrointestinal tract. How one layer, another layer is being removed to show, how they are, uh, superimpose one on top of the other. Okay, forming a wall that plays a number of functions. Okay, that is not just a wall, but then which is functional in nature. Okay, now we will have a um, better look on the enteric nervous system. All right, those two neuronal networks that you find in the GIT wall, all right, lying in between, one which is the inner neuronal network, which we call as submucosal plexus, lying in between the submucosa and the circular muscle, and the other which is lying between the two smooth muscles, outer, which is outwardly, and lying between two smooth muscles, the circular and the longitudinal. That is called the myelin plexus. Okay. Now these are a network of neurons. All right, network of neurons. And when you look at the entire enteric nervous system, you'll find that there are around 100 billion neurons here, which is said to be equal to that of the number of neurons that is found in the spinal cord. Okay, so now these plexus are, are interconnected. All right, but then when we look at the myelin plexus, we find that it mostly innervate the muscle, smooth muscle, the circular and the longitudinal smooth muscle, and therefore it controls the mainly it controls the movement of the stomach, because it controls the longitudinal muscles, and longitudinal muscles will contract and relax, and that will result in the production of a kind of movement in the GIT. Okay, so you will find that the nerves arising from here and innervating the longitudinal and circular smooth muscle layers would be secreting neurotransmitters. You have some neurotransmitters that excites the muscle, and some neurotransmitters that inhibits the smooth muscles. Okay, so neurotransmitters that excites are acetylcholine, serotonin, and substance P. But then neurotransmitters that inhibits the smooth muscle cell function are vasoactive peptide and neurotensin, and a number of hosts of neurotransmitters. Okay, they play a role in inhibition as well as excitation. Okay, so anyway, as you can see, this mainly controls motility of the gastrointestinal tract, and motility plays an important role in propelling the food from one part of the GIT to another part of the GIT, number one. Number two, in regulating the flow of the chyme from one part of the GIT to another part of GIT. You have sphincters, in between, and these sphincters are controlled by the same, this myelin plexus. Okay, so sphincters are nothing but thickened, part of the thickened epithelial cells. All right, it's a layer of, it's the thickening of the mucosal layer. Okay. Sorry, it's a thickening of the circular muscle. All right, it's a thickening of the circular smooth muscle. All right, not that, not the. Not the mucosal layer containing the muscularis mucosa, another smooth muscle, but it's this smooth muscle which gets thickened, the circular smooth muscle, and then when it gets thickened, it forms into a sphincter, and anyway, it's again controlled by the myelin plexus. Okay, so sphincters are nothing but they behave like doors in between different parts of the GIT. They open and they close. When they constrict, they close. When they dilate, they open. Okay, so they control. Therefore, they regulate the movement of the chyme from one part of the GIT to another part of GIT. Okay, when you look at the submucosal plexus, all right, you'll find that it controls the mucosal epithelium. All right, which contains blood vessels, glands. Okay, so the submucosa and mucosal controls the submucosa and the mucosal epithelium. Okay, which contains glands, blood vessels, lymphatics. All right, and it's therefore important in regulating the flow of blood. One, and two is also important in regulating the the secretion of glands. Okay, so this is how the gut is regulated by this system. But then you have you also have control that is coming from the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. All right, so this is enteric which is local control. This is higher center control. Okay, so central nervous system receives information that is coming from the mucosal cell, and passing through the submucosal plexus, and then goes one branch goes directly to the higher center, another branch goes to the myenteric plexus. This can result in the formation of what we call a short reflex, kind of a short reflex arc here. Okay, but this forms a kind of a long reflex. Okay, so the vagovagal reflex is basically made up of this. Okay, so this is the afferent. The efferent would again be a vagus nerve. Okay, that would control the muscle as well as the glands. Okay, so control the movement or the motility as well as secretion. Okay, if you look at the parasympathetic control, all right, you'll find that it has an effect on the the contraction of these smooth muscle. So it causes contraction of the smooth muscle and opening of the sphincters. All right, so circular muscles would sphincters would made of circular muscles would undergo some kind of relaxation, but this other muscles would undergo contraction. Okay, so that helps in the movement of the food from one part of the gastrointestinal tract to another part of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, but if you look at the sympathetic control, you'll find that it plays just the opposite role. It has control over the smooth muscle, and what does it do there? It causes constriction of the sphincter and then relaxation of the smooth muscle. All right, and so that helps in the storage, or it helps in keeping the in particular places of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, for the process of digestion. Okay, so anyway, when you look at parasympathetic control on the glands, it helps in the secretion, but sympathetic plays an important role in controlling the flow of blood. Okay, and so this is what we call as a neural control of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, the entire thing is the neural control of the gastrointestinal tract. So we can summarize that gastrointestinal tract is controlled by the neurons, all right, that are intrinsic and extrinsic. So we can divide neural control into two parts: extrinsic and intrinsic. Intrinsic is the enteric nervous system, comprising of the myenteric plexus and the submucosal plexus. Extrinsic is the the autonomic fibers descends from the higher center, all right, consisting of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Okay, clear? And you find that there is a kind of reciprocal connection between myenteric plexus and submucosal plexus, as you can see here. Okay, so it is not that they are totally dependent, but then there is some kind of coordination between these two plexuses. All right, so today what we have learned is the control of GIT, and as I've said, you have reflexes, long reflexes, short reflexes, and long reflexes. Stimulus goes as far as the central nervous system and descends into the gut, controlling the gut, the smooth muscle cell, and the gland. All right, and the short reflex is controlled by the local nerve plexus, the enteric plexus. All right, so stimulus goes to the enteric nerve plexus, and if efferent comes from there, controlling the smooth muscles and the glands. Okay, and what you get is a response in the form of contraction and secretion. Contraction of the smooth muscle, secretion of the glands. Okay, so this is how the gastrointestinal tract is controlled neurally. Okay, or we can say controlled by the neural system. Okay, so today we have discussed control, the neuro control of the gastrointestinal tract. In another day, I would be discussing the, hormonal control of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so this is nothing but the sympathetic nervation of the gut. So sympathetic, fibers are rising from T5 to L2. Of course, they pass through the sympathetic. They pass through the sympathetic chain and then form synapse in the ganglions. All right, there's a celiac ganglion, there's the mesenteric, superior mesenteric, inferior mesenteric, and the postganglionic then would be sent to different parts of the gastrointestinal tract. This is the parasympathetic, which is a craniosacral outflow. Okay, so the cranial outflow is basically controlled. I mean, it's basically made up of cranial nerves, dominantly facial nerve and glossopharyngeal and vagus, and of course the sacral outflow is made up of the pelvic nerves. Okay, so anyway, this is again a summarization of the control of the different layers, therefore the gastrointestinal tract by the extrinsic nervous system. Okay, and by the extrinsic nervous system, and how they impact the intrinsic nervous system as well. Okay, there is connection with the intrinsic nervous system as well. Okay, so this is the neural control of the gastrointestinal tract. So what we have learned today is one, functional anatomy of the gastrointestinal tract. Two, the first portion of the control mechanism of the gastrointestinal tract, which is the neural control of the gastrointestinal tract. Understand? And my next class, I would proceed with the control mechanism, but then I will talk about the hormonal control of gastrointestinal tract. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir.